You can't stop them. You can't kill the giant.
There's no mistaking the quality and narrative creativity of Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. It was a darling of the indie circle, and potentially one of the most emotionally resonant games of the previous console generation. The promise and potential for Ninja Theory to rise from their small, meager corner of the gaming industry saw its first steps emerge after being acquired by Microsoft for their Xbox division. Ninja Theory has been one of my favorite stories in the gaming industry. How one of the smallest teams could make something on an incredibly light budget and find great success is an inspiring tale to all indie developers. After being acquired by Microsoft, the team rose in size, and their first project was a direct sequel to Hellblade. Now, one could make an argument that the first Senua game was perfectly fine the way it was. The ending and theme of her journey could be perceived as wrapping a bow on things. It wasn't the definitively, there's nowhere to go from here type of ending. Still, a Hellblade sequel wasn't what I think a ton of people were expecting. With Senua Saga Hellblade 2, Ninja Theory had a set vision for what they wanted to achieve, a bigger staff, a bigger budget, all the things which help shape dreams into realities when it comes to scaling something up. As a sequel, Hellblade 2 serves as an experiment and an experience simultaneously. Players can either hop on board the immersive roller coaster and see where it goes, or they can push back against it. This isn't a light version of God of War, and it's kind of sad that this label stuck onto Hellblade's sequel as long as it did. It's not an action-first game. Hellblade 2 feels as though it wants to lean into the first game's strengths, while trying to alter some of its weaknesses. Whether the sequel was successful in this endeavor, I leave to each person playing it to ultimately decide for themselves. For me, it was a bit of a mixed bag. I decided from the outset that I would embrace whichever direction Ninja Theory took with this game. Senua Saga Hellblade 2 leans heavily into a cinematic, immersive experience rather than breaking the atmospheric and narrative aura for a combat-heavy focus. This means there are pacing issues with combat sequences. This also means there are quite a few instances of forgoing a potential boss fight in favor of a spectacle set-piece type interactive mission. Everything is about a visceral, gritty, in-your-face kind of experience. If Senua is going to go through something, you will feel it right alongside her. Normally, less focus on gameplay annoys me, but I do feel in a game like Hellblade 2, it's okay to take a different path. Just like the Souls games have an identity unto their own, so too does Hellblade as a franchise have an identity. That identity is largely derived from the narrative and the powerful emotional performance from Melina Juergens, the actor behind Senua. Senua Saga hones an artistic ambition. It is, in my opinion, after playing through this game, Ninja Theory achieved this, but not without cost. There's something to be said for the majestic and awe-inspiring nature of Hellblade 2's presentation. Every single aspect of the world and level design informs the emotionally harrowing journey Senua undertakes. There's a deep in-core feeling behind the pixels and circumstance layered within Hellblade 2, which you can't help but be lost within. This cuts to the quick of why Senua's Saga requires a more nuanced perspective. It's one thing to watch a visceral psychological and emotional journey, but it's something entirely different to be able to take part in it. My belief is that games, above all else, should be fun and immersive, whether that's being fun and immersive through their mechanics, lore, characters, world, graphics, or raw gameplay. It makes no difference. I just want to have fun and be immersed. With Hellblade 2, I certainly was. Would it have been nice for there to be some more combat sequences and a better or more expanded puzzle system? Absolutely. It's all a very perplexing set of questions one can ask as to the nature of whether or not this game meets expectations. Then again, I guess it all depends on what you wanted Hellblade 2 to become. If you wanted something action-packed from beginning to end with action RPG-like mechanics, you're not finding anything like that here. Each person will have a varying scale of tolerance toward the artistic direction of this game. I didn't mind having a gameplay cycle like this for Hellblade 2 because it suits this particular game. That doesn't mean I want to have a dozen more games to be exactly like this one. It just means I liked it for this game.
You have damned them all.
How will you keep going now?
How will you live with yourself?
With this heaviness? Yes, feel it.
Let it wear you down.
Feel it, Senua. I can feel it.
If there's one thing I really appreciate about the modern gaming landscape, it's that the smaller studios and dev teams, either independent or owned by a larger publisher, are pushing to create wildly unique experiences. That is something worth appreciating in my mind, especially in an industry which likes to push toward copy and paste AAA formula rehashes. By having a different perspective of presentation and leaning into it, Ninja Theory have specialized and excelled in an effort unmatched as of yet. Senua's Saga follows the lead character as she journeys to Iceland to stop slavers from abducting her people and pillaging her homeland. This quest is far from being only an altruistic endeavor, as it was in fact foreign pillagers who raided and killed her lover Dillion. Finding the courage to face the threat is the key motivator in bringing her across the sea. Here, she may lay siege upon the darkness and demons of this new land, even if it means facing new and old demons of her own. All in all, I find the setup of the sequel to be intriguing, perhaps lighter than the weighted narrative of the first game. However, a narrative with lighter ambition makes for a simpler, more streamlined journey. This helps Hellblade 2 achieve a multi-layered approach to showcasing Senua's own personal journey, just as she bears witness to the arcs of the characters around her. I think the strength of the game's approach is that the connective thread of Senua learning to embrace who she is and what she is permeates the surrounding emotional beats of the world and main narrative. This is even in parts where a creature, location, or another character's ordeal is highlighted. Senua is coming to terms with the truth of herself. We are able to move on from the understanding of the first game and build upon it. The player as Senua is an active participant in this new world's struggles, and facing the pain it offers up as a challenge to those who venture forth within it. It occurs to me the nature of the combat and the levels is meant to feel like the world around Senua is beating her back, pushing her down, throwing dirt in her eye, and doing anything it can to force her to turn back. The world wants her to give up, to give in to her fear, anger, and suffering. The land and its corrupted inhabitants aim to force Senua into a state of darkness, not just with her actions, but with her psyche. Senua is meant to break. She is meant to give in to the same foul corruption which plagues the land she seeks to save. Senua came seeking to liberate and find salvation through a new purpose. But above everything else, she came on this journey because she made a promise. That journey starts with a rough landing on the beach after a storm wrecks the ship she is captive on. As the game moves on, Senua treks through villages. She forges a path through brutal, mystical, and beautiful landscapes. Not to mention, she braves otherworldly experiences and threats blocking her path in a gripping and wholly unique fashion. It's true, the narrative is simpler, but the message is clear, and the beauty astounding. At the end of it all, this is a fun cinematic game to play through. It will take people varying times to complete, as I've seen times ranging from 5 to 12 hours across hundreds of people commenting online. So, how much time it will take you personally is anybody's guess. Some games are longer and some are shorter. The quality of this game's design and presentation speaks for itself. While I may be someone who ultimately prefers gameplay over graphics, it was really fun to see a game like Hellblade 2, where the visceral story of the game is met by the most visually stunning and visceral cinematic presentation I've ever seen in a game. Games like Dishonored or Sunset Overdrive are fun and stylistic. Those games are amazing and their artistic design serves a purpose for each of them. A game like Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is fun and appropriately uses the advancements in graphical technology to push the photorealistic visuals to immersive new heights, in order to bring the game's brutal journey to life. My observations are mostly positive about it. I enjoyed it, the story worked for me, but I know there will be people who don't like or even want games like this. That's fine. I think Ninja Theory knew this game wasn't for everyone, and that's okay too. As a player, you will be forced to buy into the direction the game's taking you in, if you want to truly enjoy the experience. For this reason, some gamers may not find a way to appreciate Hellblade 2, especially since it isn't trying to be like other games we may think it should be. Senua's Saga is just trying to be itself, a sequel to Hellblade and nothing more. With this video, I really wanted to share my thoughts and feelings on the game after playing through it rather than an in-depth breakdown like my other reviews have been. Still, hopefully I've been able to convey my takeaways from this game. I am pleased to say that despite its shortcomings, Senua Saga Hellblade 2 still ended up being a thoroughly enjoyable sequel to the first game. It does enough with its brutal fight sequences to make me enjoy the gameplay loop and slightly overlook the somewhat inconsistent pacing. I want to return to and experience the story again. I just can't help but feel that there's some key element missing from Hellblade's formula. Hopefully Hellblade can continue to build upon itself and discover with the next game what I feel has to be a missing puzzle piece. No pun intended. I want to thank you all for watching this video until the end. If you enjoyed the video, I ask that you would consider subscribing, clicking the like button, and hitting that little bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos as soon as they drop. Thanks again, and have yourself a great day.
What will we become?
We are not our fathers. There is always a choice. You taught me that.
We will choose. Together.
You decide.
All her life she has been alone. She chose it. A shield to keep her heart from harm. A hymn to still the other voices, the ones outside. Not anymore. The ones she saved, the names she found, they lift her up. Their hands reach out to hers. And now, she reaches back to them.